Building a Tenor Guitar Part 21 at randallprice.com.
Welcome back to Building a Tenor Guitar. I'm over here at the fixture that I built in the last video that I'm going to use to cut the mortise in the neck end of the guitar. And today I'll be building the mortise template that I'll use to guide the router to cut that mortise. I've mounted a template guide in the base of my router, and I'll use this template guide in conjunction with the template to cut the mortise in the neck end of the guitar. The particular guide that I'm using has a 1/2 inch outside diameter, and the bit that I'm using has a 1/4 inch diameter. So there's an offset there between the bit and the diameter of the template, and there's a calculation that you can do to determine what the width and length of your template needs to be based on the diameter of the guide and the diameter of the bit, and I've calculated that out. So what I need is a rectangle in my template that's 1 inch wide and 3 inches long. I've thought through a few ways of making that template. I thought about cutting a 1 by 3 inch rectangle in the center of a piece of hardboard on my router table, and that would work. But I thought of a little bit easier way to do it than that. And so what I've come up with is I've cut 2 pieces of a hardboard about 5.5 inches wide and 12 inches long, and one piece that is exactly 1 inch wide and 12 inches long. So what I'll do is center this piece on my fixture and temporarily clamp it in place. Then I'll be able to butt these 2 pieces up against it, and I'll just clamp these to hold them in place for right now. And then this piece I'll be able to slide down to the length that I need for the length of the template opening, and that will give me my rectangle. This end of the rectangle, I don't really need a stop at this end. This is where the top of the guitar will be, and the mortise actually comes through the top, so I can start anywhere back here and go down and form my mortise. So next I'll attach these pieces to the top of the fixture, and what I've done is already put 2 pieces of carpet tape on the back of this. So when I get this piece in place, I'll just take the carpet tape off of these 2 pieces, butt them against there, and stick them down. If that seems to hold them securely, I'll do that as is. If not, I'll probably put a few brads in the top of this just to hold it in place. Then I'll be able to adjust the centerpiece down to where I need to be. I've made a mark here at the center line of the fixture, and then I made a second mark a 1/2 inch offset from the center line, and that's where one side of my 1 inch wide piece needs to be. So I'm going to put my engineering square here right on that line, and I can butt that piece against there, and I'll temporarily clamp this. Now that's in the center of the fixture. Now I'm ready to attach the other 2 pieces, and they'll go on just like that. The most difficult part of this whole thing is getting the backing off the carpet tape. I've seen several people use carpet tape to hold various jigs in place, and I haven't used it a whole lot myself. I have used it a little bit, but we'll see how it works this time. Okay, so I have that butted against there. I'll press it in place. there's those. The centerpiece needs to be about 3 inches down from the face of this fixture. I have a gauge block that happens to be 3 inches long, so I can just butt it against the face and slide that against there. And I will make a mark on the bottom of there. I'll fasten a piece of carpet tape to here and then put that back in place. I have a piece of carpet tape on the back of this 1-inch wide piece. Put that against the gauge block. There we go. Okay, I'm about ready to try out the mortising template, and I don't want to make my first try on my guitar, so I've just taken a block of pine and screwed it to a piece of plywood, and I'll clamp that to the fixture to make a trial cut to make sure that my calculations are correct and my template is the right size to make the size of mortise that I want. If you haven't used a plunge router before, in order to set the depth, I will plunge the router down to the top of my workpiece. And this is a stepped depth gauge right here, and it's just got 1/8 inch steps all the way down, so I'm going to turn it down to 6/8, which is 3/4, and then I have a 3/4 inch gauge block. On that bottom step where I'm at, I'm going to set this depth gauge to 3/4 inch. So now when I get to this bottom step, my depth will be 3/4 inch. So now I can dial this step gauge back up, and I should just almost, I'm just hitting the top there, so that first cut will be about 1/8 inch. So I'll just be able to dial this down in 1/8 inch increments. When I get to that step where I set my depth gauge, I'll be at 3/4 inch. One other thing about these template guides is your router bit needs to be centered perfectly in the center of this template guide, and in reality that's hard to do. I've got this centered as well as I can, but there's a possibility that that router bit may be offset from one side to the other. So to compensate for that, I'll keep the same side of the template guide against the side of my template all the way around, and I'll turn as I go, so I'm always cutting from the same side, so I don't have to worry about that guide being off center. So I'm ready to do my test cut here. So there's the mortise that I cut. Perfect depth, 3/4 of an inch deep, 2 7/8 inches long, which is exactly what I need. The width is about 3/32 of an inch too wide, so I need to take that center strip and just rip just a small amount off of that and reposition my template pieces. I'll make another test cut after I do that excuse me, to make sure everything is the size that I want it to be, and then I'll make the cut in the guitar. I have the guitar clamped in place, and I've adjusted my template to get it to the width that I want it to be, so I'm ready to cut the mortise in the guitar. There's the mortise. Very happy with the way it came out. Here's my 3/4 inch gauge block. It just slides right in there. That's what I was concerned about, getting that 3/4 of an inch wide, 3/4 of an inch deep. So all in all, it came out good. I'm very happy with that. Gotta say, that was probably the most challenging cut that I've had to make on the guitar so far, and the one I was most concerned about, because if I would mess this up, it could be difficult to recover from. But it's looking good, so next time I'll be starting on the neck.
For woodworking plans, tips, and techniques, visit randallprice.com.